I'm Mac, and today we're going to be taking a look at the BendoBox from Psychic Modulation. The BendoBox is a multi-effect plugin that is primarily geared towards beat manipulation. However, it has many tone shaping features that offer nearly endless possibilities for unique sound design. So, first things first, let's check out the BendoBox and take a look at its features. So, the plugin breaks down into 6 different segments along its signal chain. You have the tone shaper, the LFO, a mod gate, an echo, a delay gate, and what they call a freakout. So the tone shaper, it's really great for like saturation and drive type effects. What's cool is that the signals split into low and high bands, so you can boost the low end while applying filtering and saturated crunch to the mids and the highs. Everything below the split is going to retain a much cleaner signal and bypass the filter. Everything after the split will get a dirtier sound, so you can adjust that to taste. The LFO is tempo synced to alter the filter and amplitude for easy duck and pump effects. It also has filtered sweeps and shaping, and the wave shift slider can alternate between phase positions. Next, you have a mod gate. This is a gate sequencer that can be used to chop and drop out sections and create really entirely new rhythms. You could use this to also trigger the LFO only on certain steps, and it has a few settings, hard, soft, or glide. It really depends on the sound you're trying to go for. Moving on, you have the echo. The echo unit is a nifty BPM sync delay, has what's called a dual timing system that is described like 2 stack delays, but you can also spread them out between channels for a wide stereo image. And then moving on, you have a delay gate as well. This is another gate sequencer that can trigger input sends on an exact part of the beat. This will also leave the rest of the beat unaffected. Finally, you have what's called a freakout slider. So the freakout slider is going to affect the echo and filter in wild ways. How wild is going to be determined by things like the rate of the beat and how dramatic your settings are within the plugin. The slider is going to return to 0 when you try to use it. This is by design, so it's great for like fill-ins or transitions because, as it said, this is a very dramatic feature, and when you bring it up, it's going to freak out. You can also press the hold button, which will keep the slider in place. But according to Psychic Modulation, a good rule of thumb is the wilder the preset, the more intense the freak out. So now that we've discussed the features, I want to show you ways that I've implemented the BendoBox into one of my clients' sessions that they've approved of showing for this demonstration. It's a sort of beat-driven jam inspired by Patrick Carney's theme song for the show BoJack Horseman. So let me play through it before I break it down. First, let's take a look at the drums. So here I have the primary drum loop that is driving the beat. However, I wanted to implement some grooviness and some depth. So I applied the BendoBox on a secondary track to flutter and expand in support of that main beat and tastefully fill in the gaps. Since I want this to be in support of that main groove, what's nice about the BendoBox is, again, I was able to chop out those lows and focus all of my processing onto the mids and the highs, while also running through the echo and the delay gate to give me a very fluttery type of delay effect that wasn't going to compete with the other frequencies in the main beat. So while I was processing the drums, it got me thinking, what if I started applying this to different elements in the mix? Because this is geared towards beats, but everything in the mix has some sort of rhythm going on. So then I decided to apply the BendoBox on my keys and my synths to add some subtle rhythmic dimension that overall helped the full mix to move and pump together more cohesively. And so once I was happy with how everything was sitting and all of the different rhythms kind of moving together, I have this lead voice, right? These saxophones. And again, I don't necessarily want to detract from the rhythms that the saxophones are playing, but that's such a key voice to the track that I wanted to see, is there a creative way I could introduce that somewhere else? So using the BendoBox, I finally decided, let's experiment, right? Let's try to make some rhythmic pads and textures out of the saxophones in the track. This helped uniquely tie the lead voice and the instrumentation together with the rest of the track. So overall, I found the BendoBox to be a satisfying creative tool that helps me both experiment and discover unique sound design possibilities, as well as add subtle dimension and movement to any element of my mix. Again, I'm Mac. This is the BendoBox from Psychic Modulation. Thank you so much for listening, and happy sound designing.